Well, that is the Tarim flight heading off to Bucharest this morning. We're at the Park and Ride, just adjacent to the airport, and this is where all things that are not flying take off from. And this morning it is going to be a Flixbus. The Flixbus has one stop, Alba Iulia, which I visited a couple years ago, and then heading to Sibiu, which I also visited a couple years ago. And I'm going to make a return visit to Sibiu this morning and see what has changed and what has stayed the same. Come along. Well, 2 hours and 25 minutes scheduled turned into about 2 hours and 45 minutes. Not Flixbus fault at all. We got stopped for a little highway inspection that set us back a few minutes. Well, we do not get dropped off at the train station, which is what I was initially assuming. We are up a little bit closer to the airport, so I'm going to have to get my bearings and figure out the best way to get down towards the city center. Welcome back to Sibiu. All right, found something that we recognize. See the time there, 11:30 a.m. almost. At the top it tells you the annual amount of bicyclists, 43,000, and today's bicyclists, 117. But it's also permissible to stay to the side and walk this path. So I remember doing this path on a number of occasions for the month that I stayed in Sibiu back in the fall a few years back. And this will take you right below the historic city center zone. First goal is going to be some coffee, and I'm not going to be too picky about where I find it at. This is quite pleasant. Well, not a very long walk along the path, maybe 10-12 minutes or so. We get our first look into the historic center area of Sibiu. Inside the white building is the halls of a marketplace where you can buy fruits, vegetables, seafood, meats, and different other things such as that. Let's continue on up towards the city. Well, I said I wanted to see what changed, stayed the same. I'm sure all the historical buildings are going to be the same, but the Rosu and Negru non-stop bar and slot machines, looks like they have not stayed open. I used to stop in there every now and then, just be walking down on the river, stop in for a beer. You could get a beer for just over €1, $1.25 maybe. They are no longer. Let's see if my little bakery is still over here. Well, a swing and a miss on the bakery. I did find coffee from 5 to Go, and it was 13 lei, big cappuccino. Nice little cobblestone street here. Remember, Sibiu is the home of the houses with eyes in the rooftop. The bells are chiming. It is 12 noon here in central Romania. Get out of the way before I get hit by a vehicle. Several different lanes that we can go up and down and explore. I've been through many of them, but I think now we're going to climb up into the old town. A little bit of a map that does very little unless you're standing in front of it. Can confirm the bakery is not here. I did 2 laps around. So I was here a couple years ago. This is a little brewery pub right below the old town area. And there are a couple paths you can go. You can go up the cobblestones here, or you can climb the stairs. And I think I'm going to go cobblestones just to have a little more shade on the path up and a little bit more scenic view on the way up. Well, first stop up the hill, other than the St. Mary's Church, is the Piazza Mica. So Romanian language and Italian language have some similarities to them. So like in Italy, piazza means like the square, and here it's piatta. Mica is the small square. And as mentioned before, you check out the slanted rooftops that have the eyes. A very Sibiu thing. One of my favorite views in Sibiu is right here off the edge of the smaller plaza. Another pathway up into the city, but you get a look at the very centuries-old homes that dot the area of the old town, with some nice modern flats off in the distance. Some high-end type eateries up here. Another view back to St. Mary's. Kind of interesting to see the roof tiles off this side with the sun striking it, a little bit of a different angle. And then looking back towards the Piazza Mica, no shortage of shopping. Out here, a lot of different stalls set up that maybe you can go looking for bargains. And then you have a group out here that's setting up. These are empty boxes, and it looks like there's a sculpture being created out of it. So just like little packing boxes, and they're assembling it here in the square. Now I kind of want to come back and find out what they're making. All right, let's head to Piazza Mayor. Well, just adjacent to the big plaza, if you head down that direction, you will hit the train station eventually. And this is the Scottish pub. I remember one of my favorite spots because you had some nice tree areas that you could sit out underneath. It is 12:15 p.m. and they maybe are not open until later in the day, but hoping that they're still open. So one of my first ever meals in Sibiu was here on the square at the La Tourne restaurant. But that was not on the trip a couple years ago. That was earlier than that, because my very first visit to Sibiu was at Christmas 2022, I think it was, because I saw online that it had one of the best Christmas markets in all of Europe. One of those lists, you know, top 10s or whatever. And actually it was really good. Missing here behind the fire truck, there was a little patio restaurant that you could get food and drinks at, but that is now gone. I remember listening to some live music there one afternoon into the evening. All right, let's get around the corner here. We'll take a panoramic view of the square. The large square here in Sibiu, and there's always something going on. Sibiu. 3 visits, third one being today. The first time, of course, was the Winter Festival, the Christmas markets, ice skating rink, things such as that. In the autumn, when I was here a couple years back, they had a big film festival. And now it looks like maybe like a concert series. This is the start of the weekend, so I don't know if it's tonight or maybe setting up for something over the weekend. But maybe we'll head back this direction later on in the day. No shortage of cafes. I remember the Rabbit Hole. I don't think I ever partake on this side of the square. I know that when you're on the square, you're going to pay a lot more. But of course, I mean, look at the view you get too, right? So some planetary displays down here. I don't know. You see a guy on a ladder. Pretty certain that's Earth. I'm going to guess that this is probably Mars. Not certain what they're exactly, if that's something for the future or something that's going on right now, but maybe we'll find out as we go. All right, let's head down the pedestrian pathway. This will take us towards the park area and the stadium eventually. Wonder if they're still selling ears of corn out here. 5 lei. I remember last time they were 5 lei. The largest hotel in the downtown area, I believe. Downtown area right back to the trees. The Continental over that side, and there's also a Ramada somewhere that direction. Hey, right there. There is the Ramada. Probably the nicest Ramada I've ever seen, because if I compare it to Ramadas that we have at home in the United States, no comparison. This is a much nicer Ramada hotel. All right, I'm going to save my next coffee for a coffee stop that I frequented on several occasions on the last visit. And I'm going to go check and see if it is still in operation. Man, I hope so. It was a really cool environment. That area there where the flag of Romania flies is where the airport bus dropped me off the time I flew into Sibiu. And I did it to myself yet again, because I know this ahead of time. There is no crosswalk in this part of the city, so I'm going to have to go up a block, cross over, and then come right back. That was an excellent cup of coffee. As I said, I used to frequent that a couple times a week back in the day. Prices have gone up. 2 lei. It was 15 for the coffee. I know it used to be 13. That's an increase of about 40 cents. But the water has run out, so I'm going to go into the Carrefour Market here and reload. Got to stay hydrated. 81 degrees today, 28 Celsius. Oh, just a brief walk through a bit of Parcours Souterrain here on the outskirts of the main city area of Sibiu. I'm going to head back towards the football stadium, which is down this direction. So I came to Sibiu this morning with really nothing planned, including no hotel room. A little terrace area here. So while I was having coffee before, I went ahead and booked a room, because really I was thinking maybe I'll just come down, do a day and go back. But the bus to go back tonight doesn't leave until after midnight, and that just seemed like too long of a day. So I figured we would get the best deal we could, which ended up being right outside the park area here. There's a Best Western that I've stayed at a couple of times, but it was a little bit more expensive than where I booked. We'll get around here, we'll get a first look at some of the football pitches, the soccer fields. If you can see, there's some outdoor exercise equipment that the community is welcome to use. And then you got some fields set up here, and then just adjacent, that shining silver facade is the stadium for the football club here in Sibiu, Hermannstadt. And I actually got to see a game here a couple of years ago. Played one of the teams out of Bucharest. I don't remember which one it was. and sat up, I think, in this corner closest to us. It was a fun atmosphere. I remember they won 4-0. I love how close the airports are to the city centers in Romania. Cluj-Napoca, maybe 4 miles away from the city center here, maybe a little bit less, maybe 3. All right, hotel is just up around the corner. Not sure I can check in yet. It's only 2:30. But maybe we can get rid of the bag and at least lighten the load a little bit. Oh, a little look from the top of the Park Submarine. See how it just kind of goes along down that direction. I think I looked it up the last time. I think from the start back by the Best Western Hotel, it is about 3.5 miles, maybe even 4 miles, until you get down towards the Astra Museum. Also, the zoo is down that direction. And I think that's where the path I'm going to take. Maybe not quite all the way down to the museum, but there are 3 different restaurants that I can think of that I would consider for a late lunch or early dinner. It's now going 3 p.m. Was able to check into the hotel. That was nice. Very good room. Actually went ahead and took a shower just to kind of freshen up a little bit. What the guy on Flixbus call it, the comfort break, when they stop and give you a 10 or 15 minute break for smoking and grabbing a coffee or whatever. So that's what I had. I had a comfort stop. Cleaned up, showered off, and now we're back out to it. Check out these amazing homes and backyards. Wow. All right, so I'm going to cruise through the park. I'm not going to bore you with pictures of trails and trees, but I'm going to go look for the first restaurant that I'm thinking of is adjacent to the park with a nice outdoor terraced seating area. Will we be able to get in at this time of day, and is it still open? This is what Cluj-Napoca does not have, in my opinion, at least that I found. A real nice park in the city that runs for some distance. The Central Park is very nice, but it's just not very long. This, I think, is my favorite park, at least from a city park in Romania. Awesome stuff. So about a 15-20 minute walk from the Best Western at the start of the park, there is a little, I don't know if you would call it a B&B or guest house or something, but I stayed up there for a few nights. This was after I stayed at the Best Western. I had points for a free night there, or a couple nights, and then I rented an Airbnb that was not available for a couple nights. So I had, I don't remember, I think it was 3 nights in between, because I remember going back and looking on booking.com today when I was looking for a place for this evening, and that is still renting, and I believe it's renting about the same price. I think I paid $22 a night back then. But it was not available for a couple of nights here in the near future. I think maybe next week it might have opened up, but it was still $22. So, fun little trip down memory. So I don't know if these were on here on my last visit, but you can scan them, and it also kind of gives you like a little tour through the forest of what you're looking at. That being the common walnut tree. Through the trees, where it's all bast and sunshine, is another path that runs concurrent to the one I'm on. And that was the very first path I ever walked down going that direction, or going the direction I'm heading now. And then about a week later, I discovered that there's a path here through the trees. And that is the one I'm opting for today, to stay out of the heat. Pretty large tree there. I just stopped for a little hydration break, a little Oshi vitamin water. Made in Poland, sold in Romania. Almost double the price in Romania compared to Poland, but quite delicious still. About €1.50 maybe. Sometimes you catch it on sale and it's a little bit cheaper. When I was stopping there to grab a quick drink, I looked at my phone. We are exactly 2 miles, 3 kilometers from the squares of the city, the Major and the Mika Piatas. And just amazes me how here in Sibiu, just like other parts of Romania and Europe, you just don't have to go far out of the city center. And they have protected woods and forests that you can come out and enjoy. All right, I think we're getting very close to the zoo. Oh yeah, glad to not be on that trail on that side out in the sunshine. It is every bit of 82, 28 Celsius. All right, my path ended here at the bicycle track, so I can go to the right side, walk past the church, and then there's a path that will take me down to the zoo. But if I remember correctly, I think if I go up this direction, I get back into the forest. And I would much rather do that and stay out of the sunshine. The zoo just ahead. I think I can smell it from here. Damn elephants. It was a good guess. A few more people on this path as well. Just above the zoo. All right, we made it down to the zoo entrance. There's a little map of said zoo just down that hill. When I was here in October that year, there was like 1 or 2 of these stands open. It looks to be kind of similar today, but there's a lot more people. And there's definitely more than 1 or 2 stands open, but there are still some that are not open. Let's walk down and see how much the zoo costs to get in 2026. A couple years ago, it was 10 lei, which was just over $2. You got an increase in price of double from 3 years ago. Now 20 lei to go in, which is now just over $4. We'll look inside at the lake. All the animal enclosures are up above the trees. It's a very good zoo. But I'm going to continue down this direction, and Astor Museum is not much further. Remember, I said I wasn't going to go all the way, and here I am going all the way down. Yeah, just along the path away from the zoo, we have got to the back side of the Astor Museum. And the Astor Museum is kind of a living history museum. It might be the best way to describe it. Kind of showing you how things were in previous decades and centuries around different parts of Romania. I do remember the old tram car stationed outside the entrance to the zoo. I don't remember the story that goes with it. All right, Jacob Grill House. Let's go check out the menu. Here's a quick glance at the menu. Black is Romanian, brown is English. I think my last trip I had the Jacob Burger. Now it's 62 lei, so I think that's probably gone up in price just a little bit in the last couple of years. If you hit that QR code with your phone right now, you can get the menu. All right, I think I'm going to move on from Jacob's and go to option number 2, which is about a 19-minute walk away. Yeah, if cousins Tom and Linda were ever on the trip to Sibiu, that's where they would set up shop, I'm certain. The Hilton outside of the Astor Museum. Maybe I took a shortcut along the path adjacent to the zoo, and now I'm on the path that I was glad I was not on before. But now, as it has gone after 4 p.m., almost 4:30, the sun is covered by the trees, so now it's nice and cool. Short walk ahead to the restaurant. Thank you, shortcut. I think this is another shortcut, although not nearly as fun looking as going across the creek a moment ago. Let's scoot up the hill. Well, after I popped up that small hill, I recognized immediately where I was. So out here on the left side is a park that runs behind the Astro Museum. It's just got some absolutely fantastic trails. So I think I'm gonna go back that way for a little bit. I mean, who wants to eat dinner at 4:30, right? One of the few paths in on this little side street here. But up around the corner, I'm 101% certain that there is a small grocery store, so we can replenish the liquids. Well, a little detour. That grocery shopette is under reconstruction, so it is not open. But I think there is a Mega Image right here on the left. I think there might be a little German store here too. Nope, just the Mega. All right, let's get some water. The German shop, it was just across the street. Pretty look back to the cathedral. Force is a little bit buzzy. Time for two very important things. Some insect repellent and the beer from the German store. $2, €1.75. Might be cheaper here than in Germany. That's pretty good. Heading out of the park now, going to head to the restaurant that's on the edge of the park down by the zoo. Maybe find some grilled chicken, maybe a little pepper salad, grilled vegetables, and the beer certainly hit the spot. All right. And if it's too crowded, we're going to take a 7-minute Uber ride or Bolt ride and go for pizza. That's the alternative. Well, we got a Staro Common draft beer, 10 lay, just over $2. No longer brewed in Prague exclusively, now brewed around the world. Here specifically in Bucharest. Nice little setting out here. Food on the way. Pilsner Quell in Romania? I'm in.